Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Timesport on the Beat. My name is Faizal Salim, and today we are going to talk about the sport of triathlon in Malaysia. And with me today, we have National Triathlete Lee Wen Jun, who represented Malaysia at the 2019 Philippine SEA Games. And also I have with me is Andy Foo, CEO of Adventure Global Private Limited, and you organize triathlon competitions in Malaysia, around Asia, correct?
Yes, that's right, Faizal. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me here today. So maybe we can start with Wen Jun. Can you maybe just briefly describe what is triathlon to our listeners?
Okay, thank you, Faizal. So basically, triathlon consists of three sports. So the first discipline will be swim, following with the bike, and also run. So basically, it cover from young age until like Ironman distance, which we also consist of like super sprint, Olympic distance, which is standard distance, and then half Ironman and then Ironman. Yeah, so basically this kind of sport is more to endurance sport, I would say. So what we call that, the trend now is like it's building up, I would say. We can see that more and more people getting involved into multi-sport, which consists of three sport or maybe two sport, right? So another multi-sport, which is duathlon and also aquathlon. There's three basically. Yeah. So what I involved in the 2019 was the standard distance of the triathlon. Yeah, I would say. And also,
Yeah, how would you see the triathlon scene in Malaysia? Is it big? Because I know that there's a big cycling fraternity in Malaysia as well as running, but how about triathlon?
About triathlon in Malaysia, I would say is slowly building up because of the current trend, I would say. Like overseas people, because last time they are focusing on more on Olympic distance, which is we call that as standard distance. But right now they reduce it to a sprint distance, which is more competitive, I would say. The distance is shorter. So more people I would say that more people are attracted to a short distance compared to long distance, where you need to wait for like at least about 2 hours to 3 hours. Whereas sprint distance only like maybe 1 hour to 2 hours, so that there's more people there. There's the crowd, the spectator there will be more spectator as well. So I would say that it's growing, but then we still need to slowly introduce this kind of sport into like especially government school, like start from young, I would say. If you start from young, whereas you have a good foundation, it will lead you to a better future, I would say.
Maybe we can start with you. What made you choose triathlon? Like, how do you start to triathlon?
Basically, I get influenced by my parents as well. Because my mom is a runner, my dad is a runner. Then my dad joined like his group of friends, which also do bike and swim. So along the way, he get in touch with this kind of sport. So when I was young, I started swimming because my dad is also a swimming instructor. So my base is on swim, I would say. Yeah. Then after that, I learned run. Then after that, slowly when I'm 12 years old, I started my first triathlon in Polyxon. Yeah, so until now I'm still active, I would say. Maybe about 14 years already for me. Yeah,
I think that's when I met you, right, when you're 12 years old.
So let's bring Andy into this. What about from an organizer aspect about triathlon in Malaysia? Do you find triathlon competitions popular with the local in Malaysia?
Okay, I think our second what Wen Jun mentioned just now, the triathlon scene in Malaysia is still relatively new compared to the other countries in the region. I will say that because even though we are a growing sport, a lot of people are still new to triathlon because a lot of them know how to swim, they know how to cycle, or they know how to run. Not many know how to do three disciplines at the same time. So if you ask me, I would say that it's a growing sport. It is still relatively new, and I think there's lots of potential. We're still in the infant stage, which means that maybe in the whole community of Malaysia, we've got less than 5,000 people actively involved in triathlon. And 5,000 is not a very big number. If you're looking at our neighboring countries, I mean, maybe even in Singapore or in Thailand or in Philippines, especially, the population there for triathlon is easily tens of thousands. And then if you're looking further into the other continents like the Europes and Americas, I think those figures easily tenfolds. So if you're talking about triathlon, almost everybody there does it, whether they do it as a hobby or whether they do it as a lifestyle. So to answer your question, yeah, we're still relatively new. But I would like to see this sport grow, and that's where we come in as event organizers. So I'm not just an event organizer for this sport, but I'm also a coach, and I'm also a participant. So I used to be an athlete myself. And like I said, that's where I met Wen Jun about 12 years ago, right? I feel that from where we started until now, it has grown quite a bit, but the growth rate is not as much as we want to. So as an event organizer, of course, we would like to see it grow even more. Because for us, if we get 1,000 people in an event compared to another country which brings 3,000, there's a huge difference. And what Wen Jun mentioned, I guess the grassroots level is important. So we have to start building them from schools, which we don't do currently, especially you're talking about the government schools. Maybe private schools, yes, you have a bit of curriculum in that. But government schools, we really hope that we can implement something over there.
So let's talk about the ecosystem here in Malaysia. Like, how is it like? Maybe if someone wants to get involved in triathlon, how can they do that?
So for this, I would say at least they know some basic for each discipline, so that when they get involved into like clubs, cause basically I'm attached with M3X. Okay, so we are based in Putrajaya. So basically
That's your club?
Yeah, that's my club. So basically I'm part of the coach there. Yeah. So for that our main focus is on developing and also developing them from younger, because our youngest member there are like 6-7 years old.
That's very young.
Correct. That's right. That's where they need to get involved. I mean, that's the best age that let them get involved into it. Yeah, so it's easier that they have the base, like they know how to bike, they know how to control the bike, they know at least like basic swim, like they can swim by themselves, no need someone to guide them. Like running the easiest lah, like you just have a pair of shoes and you can run already. So when they came in, so that they can come to join us for like we have trial class, so that the coach will like give them some what you call that, the
Pointers.
Pointers, basics, how to
basic how to do it. Yeah, so that there is something. Then when they join, when they officially join, then they can at least like go with the group. If not, they will be drop back alone. They will get very disappointed, very demotivated as well. So what they can do is like how to keep them together is just like we have to keep motivating them, like bring them to a group and like
Just
let them have fun lah. Most important is have fun. Yeah.
you said that they started from 6 or 7 years old. So how do these youngsters come and get to know? Does the club go out and recruit or promote? How can you talk about it?
Actually we do have like basically they know us is from, because our base in Putrajaya, the Harold Ward University there. So basically over there is quite nice. Like along there there's a walk path. So actually every morning there's a lot of parents with their kids. They just go for their morning walk or morning bike. Then they just like saw us. So when they saw us, like so many, there's like, because we have like maybe like 40 to 50 of us, in the group training. So they saw us, so that also they are interested. Hey, what are you guys doing? Sometimes they approach us, ask more about it. Yeah, that's where they get into us. Also, another way is like we went to events. We're having our own team shirts, like very attracting team shirt, like so that they are also interested to know more about us as well. Because actually, for us, M3X, we are already in the triathlon scene in triathlon for like about 8 years already. I would say 8 years already. So quite well known name, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So
I think just to second what Wen Jun mentioned, how they know about the clubs, not just M3X but other clubs as well, is through word of mouth. through friends, as and when weekends, they see the people training and then they'll come to it. And of course, there is the event element. So when they go and participate in an event, that's when they see, okay, I think there's a potential to join this club because I like their colors. So M-Track's colors are yellow, right?
Yeah,
Jun?
yellow.
And then other clubs are maybe multicolored. So they just go by that and then they start to inquire about the club and then they join the club. So it is also good that you support the events because if you don't do that, you never get into the industry.
Yeah.
But before the events come into play, you need to know a little bit of basics about what to do. So it's like a chicken and egg thing, and I believe it's a life cycle. So the events have to work together with the clubs, have to work together with the schools, as well as the government.
So basically, right now the ecosystem is very much private clubs driven. So in terms
Yes,
of
that's right.
from an organizer standpoint, how do you what can you help in terms of spurring in terms of organizing events at the grassroots level?
I think from a private perspective, right, what we can do is we can organize training camps as well. So that's where we liaise with clubs such as M3X and other clubs as well to say, okay, we want to do a training camp, a summer training camp, for example, for those who are interested. So we're not only talking about those interested in Klang Valley, but anywhere throughout the nation. So a nationwide training camp or even outsiders. So we can call countries from our neighboring countries in ASEAN as well as far as China. We've had interest before from those countries who want to come over to Malaysia to train and to see what is the training like. It's not so much of to spy on us and things like that, right? Don't get me wrong, but it's more like I want to train in this climate because I can. Whereas if you are in Europe, there are certain parts of the month that you can't even train because of winter. Yeah, so that's why a lot of people go to Thailand, for example, because Thailand you can train 24/7, 365 days, same as Malaysia. So we're trying to work with some government agencies and some private sectors to make this happen, training camp. Number two is we're also working closely with the government to do events. So when we do more events like this, whether it's big event scale or small events, we're encouraging people. I'll give you an example. We do events in a private school. That is really targeting the students. So of course it's open to the public and open to adults, but majority of the participants will come from the students. And that is where you gain interest. So, hey, my friend is doing this event, why don't you just try and do it? So that's where they start. They start doing a relay, they start doing a cycling or running or swimming. And then they pick it up from there. And then where's the next destination you go? You want to go to a bigger event? You go to our next event. Yeah.
So having the sport driven by private clubs is very, I think the way to go lah for me, because I believe like in Malaysia, the sports scene here is very much as dependent on the association and association asking for government funding. But with private clubs, there's also on the flip side, there's challenges in there as well. So especially in terms of funding. So I want to bring in you two both, but maybe we start with Wen Jun first. What are challenges that you face in terms of funding or any challenges that you face? And then later on, Andy, from a organizer standpoint.
So basically for training wise, I would say the facilities in Malaysia. I would say most of the facilities like swimming pool or like track that are quite monopolized by other big company. I mean other association, I would say. So that if like we can't really utilize it. So because we need to wait for approval a lot, we need to submit a lot of document whereas sometimes you just get rejected. So that basically training place is it's one of the biggest challenge I would say. Another one would be because triathlon is actually not a cheap sport, I would say. Yeah, it's quite costly because the bikes, the equipment stuff we need to so that not a lot of company are willing to like sponsor, I would say, because of the cost is high. Because imagine like a club, we have like 30 over athlete, maybe they only sponsor one, but what about the others? Like we have to like make things fair sometimes.
So for you, how did you like get funding for the bike? Because I know road bikes are very, very expensive.
100,000.
Yeah. Some are the same price of a car.
Yeah.
So for you, how did you get funding?
Basically, for me, cause during how many years? 8 years back, where the competition is not so not like now. It's like very competitive already, I would say. because the time during my time the how you call that, the circles of people who do trial are smaller. You know, I mean, you are number one, number two already. So from that, because during that time was my peak season, my peak performance. So like I'm quite peak that time, I would say. So I went to races, and also I got quite a lot of podium. So eventually some of like my bike I got sponsored because they look for me. Yeah, they asked me for like you hold this brand for 2 years contract, something like this. Yeah.
Because you were performing very well,
Yeah,
and then the
correct.
sponsors approached you.
Yeah, correct for me. Yeah, last time. But now I think another way around, people need to like go for it. I mean, like the athlete have to approach them really, and then that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So for Andy, what type of from event organizer challenges that you face?
I think for us as event organizers, the challenges is always funding to fund event, right? Because to hold an event is not cheap. It can cost anywhere between 300 to 1 million plus 2 million, depending on the size of the event and the scalability of it. So that is always a challenge for us, and we find it a bit difficult approaching private sponsors because there are so many of us around. Triathlon event organizers, to be specific, not many. But event organizers to do runs, to do other kinds of sports, there are plenty around. And everybody approaches almost the same private companies. So if, let's just talk about bank, you know, you're a big bank and you want to just choose one company to sponsor, and you have to turn down 490 companies just to choose one. I think that's going to be a big challenge. So there's not only one big sponsor, but there are lots of big sponsors, but everybody just want to choose one event. So if they all want to choose one big event, you know, it's going to be difficult even for the corporate sponsors. So I think back again, it's a chicken and egg thing. These sponsors are looking for high returns.
Yeah, the return on their investment.
Correct, return on investment, which I don't blame them. But we as organizers are also looking for that. And if we don't get support from that, we just can't move forward. It can never grow. The sport itself will never grow, not just company. Hence, government support. So the other option is to look for government support, which I believe Kementerian Belia Sukan now, as well as Tourism Malaysia, they are helping the industry quite a bit by giving grants. So they're giving grants to event organizers to perform such events, whether it's sports events or cultural events. And we really do appreciate that. You know, sometimes the amount is not as big as you wanted to, right? But I guess it does help a little bit for the pocket. It doesn't cover, definitely, but it helps, right? So I'll just give you an example in case, safety-wise, we never negotiate on that.
Yeah.
So safety-wise, the quality of the event is always there. But to increase the level of quality, I think the fundings like this will definitely help. So instead of giving participants higher grade food, you know, we have to downgrade the food a little bit by giving them lower grade food after the event. So it's still good food, reasonable food, edible food. It's just that the quality of it may not be 5-star, maybe it's 3-star.
You have to cut back a little bit so that the other parts can hold.
Yes, correct, Faizal. So to come back again to your question, yes, we're getting support from the government. Private sector, yes, we're also getting. We really appreciate that. But usually private sectors are non-financial commitments. So they provide products.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if a company gives us, you know, 2 pairs of shoes, I'm not too sure what we can do with 2 pairs of shoes except pass it on to the athletes. And again, we can only pass it on to 2 athletes.
2 athletes, yeah.
So like Wen Jun was saying, right? If your club has 50 athletes, 48 will not benefit.
Yeah.
So imagine that is a club. So our event have thousands of people. So if you only give top 10 prizes, so 10 will benefit, but 990 will not benefit. So that's the challenge that we normally face.
Yes, it's very interesting to hear too. So, but now I want to like touch on the performance. Okay, like I said just now, Wen Jun, you represented Malaysia at the 2019 SEA Games. So in terms of what I observe, it seems that our triathletes are behind a little bit to our neighbours. So what do you think can be done to help us step up?
Basically, this one is if you compare around our neighbor, because most of them are like a full time athlete, I would say. But for us, like most of us are like part time. We just take it as a hobby. I was not really hobby, also competitive, but then there's still a limit. I mean, still a challenge because we need to work-life balance. Yeah, work-life balance. So how
You're not able to compete full time because of the financial constraints.
financial also, and also I'm studying also. I have studies as well. A lot things to consider as well. How to bring up? I would say, is to change the system of how is you need to change the system of how it works compared to the previous. I mean, like the previous generation, because right now what we are doing is still the same. We didn't really move up. So we can do is like we need to come up with a proper schedule. I would say like a proper program schedule that everyone can follow. Like not last time, because last time is like quite individual. We doesn't have like a club or like people to
So everybody train for themselves.
train themselves. It's like individual. It's like you do your own thing only. You don't care about. But right now because we have like a lot of clubs already. I would say, and then like each of the club also like they have like their very top athlete, where the top athlete there is good for the developing athlete to follow, because they can challenge each other. So I would say actually our performance are like improving, but it's just that we still need times to go with that, because it's like only I see this in these 3 years. They only start our performance only start to grow, I would say, but a bit is better than nothing, I would say. Yeah, so a good program, and then like a good group of athletes as well. Yeah, it's a good.
Let's talk about maybe how do our neighbors do it? Like how do their athletes do it? Like are they full-time professionals or do they get support? Can you maybe touch on that a little bit?
Okay, let's say about Indonesia. Okay, they are supported by their army.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are, so basically whoever are in the team, in the national team, everything is paid from the army. Yeah, so they are very, very good. They have a very good and what do you call that, the support system, I would say. Yeah, and then their training is like every day basically, because they stay together in a house. Yeah, in a house. That's why. Even Philippines also same, I would say. Yeah, Philippines also same, and also Vietnam also. Yeah, these three upcoming country. Yeah.
The army, they join the army, but they are athletes for the
Yes,
the
correct,
army.
correct.
Okay.
So like so for example, like they have to, the army, they have served. I mean, like, okay, they can focus on this event first. Alright, the upcoming SEA Games, they focus already. After that, they have to serve the army for 2 years. Then after that, come back out again. They continue the event again. Then after that, just depending on the race schedule. I mean the race schedule as well. So depending on which major event you want to go. Yeah, it's not all the event they go. They just like they selectively choose. Yeah.
Yeah. So from Andy, from organizer, how can you as an organizer play a part in maybe elevating the level of our athletes?
I think to better understand the athletes is a must for us. It's exactly the same like any other company. You understand your customers. So in this case, to add what Wen Jun mentioned, because we are also close to certain countries, whereby we always invite them. And what we know is that certain countries is true that their priority towards the sport is a little bit different from Malaysia. They're not full-time athletes, but their commitment towards the sport is nearly 100%. So they study maybe a little bit less, but the sports is highly focused on. And like what Wen Jun said, maybe for Indonesia team, right? For the army guys, they are full-time sports people, although they're in the army. So I think that plays a role. If you ask me from an event organizer point of view, what we can do is we can increase the level of the event. That will definitely attract the foreigners to come. And how we increase the level, of course, is again by having more funds. So, having your event 5-star versus your event 3-star. So once your event is of 5-star status.
Can you touch a bit like what does it mean, 5-star, 3-star?
Okay, let's just say, I'll give you an example like the Asia Cup, which we recently did in Putrajaya. To me, honestly, that is not even 5-star yet. That is probably about 3 to 4-star, because we don't have the kind of funding to make it 5-star. Similar event like that in Japan is 5.5, 6-star. So in terms of the facilities, the outlook of it, the quality of it, the bike racks, for instance, the international standard, you have one bike rack per participant, individual bike racks. Whereas for Malaysia, we can only afford a shared bike rack. So one bike rack, which is meant to be for 4 to 5 people, we make it 2 people, which is not really ideal, but is okay, acceptable. So things like that will make a difference for the athlete to want to come. Because when they go and race at a high level, let's just say an international level like Hong Kong or Japan, and even the Olympics, okay, they have to accept that the bike racks are only individual. So when they try and practice, and when they find a race to practice, obviously they want to find a race which is as close as possible to their A race. In this case, the Olympics. So they want to find anywhere in the world that has an Olympic standard kind of race so that they can race. So that when they know that they're racing against the best and the facilities are there. So things like that. Simple things like that. There are lots of things which I did not touch yet, but those are just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. The higher the rating, the better the facilities.
Correct.
It will attract better athletes to come. So
Yes,
that,
very true.
So that our athletes can compete and learn what they are lacking.
Yes, very true. I mean, it's exactly the same like what the F1 did in the world. If you notice, if you're looking at F1 Singapore versus F1 Malaysia and F1 Abu Dhabi, what's the difference? It's all F1, it's all the big name F1, but there is still a difference, and why people would rather go to Abu Dhabi and not Malaysia, right? Simple things like that.
So also now that I also am very interested in what is our level is currently right now. So do we have the ability to contend for spots, get on podiums, or maybe even one day qualify for the Olympics?
I would say that one is still
Far-fetched.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's possible, just that mostly
We're not there yet.
yeah.
So it's going to take more times. Do you think to get there?
Definitely take more time. Definitely.
So maybe you can.
I think we can definitely reach there if you ask me, Wen Jun. I think we can definitely reach that standard and reach that stage because triathlon is very infant in Malaysia, like I said, Faizal. So it will take a bit more time to reach that area. So we're now in the Asian Games, in the SEA Games, Commonwealth Games,
Commonwealth
yes.
as well. Yeah.
Olympics, we're not there yet. And even if we go there, don't expect a medal.
Yeah.
But to qualify for it is a big achievement. So definitely we can go there with the right training system, with the right ecosystem, with the right support. I believe we can.
Like we say, having more events can attract better events, attract better athletes, and our athletes can compete against that. So maybe Andy, you would like to maybe touch upon what type of events, because earlier this year in January, if I believe, we have the Asia Triathlon Cup in Putrajaya, and the foreign international competition, the competitors that came were also of a very good standard as well. So maybe you can touch on the next events this year.
Yeah, so talking about the Asia Triathlon Cup Putrajaya, which we recently held in February, just to give all the listeners what the background it is. So that is a pure internationally renowned event. So every continent, they select a couple of countries to host this event. So Malaysia, particularly Putrajaya, was selected as one of the host venue. And we're quite proud to have that event because it's the first time in Putrajaya. And that event itself, we had about, I think, 80% foreigners come for it. It is a small group of people, but they're all...
How many competitors? Foreign
competitors? I think total we had close to 120.
Is that a good number?
It is a good number because the maximum you can have is 140. So it's exactly the same like, when you have a pro golf tournament or pro badminton tournament, you only get a handful of athletes who come, maybe like 20 or 30. So for this case, triathlon, the maximum number is 140. I think we had close to 120, which is relatively good. So you cannot exceed that number. So moving forward again, that's Asia Cup. Small field, but very high quality field. So moving forward, we've got a next event coming up in Desaru. That's in July, actually, next week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also another international event. Of course, the standard is not as high as Asia Triathlon Cup, But we try to make it like that, right? So we get a lot of foreigners coming in as well, about 30-40% of foreigners coming in. That one attracts close to 700 people because that event is an age group event. So it's
Meaning?
not a elite pro level event. So you get age groups from 10 years old and above all the way to 60-year-old participating.
So it gives opportunity for the younger ones to compete and have their first taste of a triathlon.
Yes, very, very true, Faizal. So, like what Wen Jun mentioned, the grassroots level, these are who we are trying to attract and develop as well. So, we've got lots of locals, we've got lots of Singaporeans coming, people who are based all around the world coming. Somebody from US just contacted us last week and said that they want to come for this race because they heard it was a good race as well. They want to use this race as a warm up to something else. So, we get about 25 to 30 countries actually coming for this event. And the youngest, like you said, is about 10 years old. And then they range all the way to 60. And then after that, we've got the next event in Malacca. Malacca is also somewhat similar to that. That's another international event. And we're actually targeting a little bit more than 1,000 people. Because this one is closer proximity to Putrajaya, closer proximity to KL. So in terms of accessibility, it's a little bit easier. People can fly into KLIA and then go towards Malacca. So there are plenty of events such as this in the region. And everybody is really targeting and picking and choosing which event they want to go to. So these are just a couple of events that we touch on.
Does that benefit us, these foreign competitors coming in just for warm-ups?
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of foreigners, they choose this event. Okay, firstly is because they got family and friends over here. Secondly is because they, word of mouth, like I mentioned, they heard that this event was good from friends who came for this event previous years. Like this has been going on for close to 10 years now. So for those participants for the last 9 years and they've been coming over here, all they need to do is just tell somebody, hey, make sure you come for this event. It's very good. It's not as good as A level, but it's A minus. So it's good enough. So that's how we get more people. And then of course, we do our own promotion as well. So we do it via social media. We do it via the distribution channels. We have plenty of interest groups around. Like I said, we are also close to our friends in the neighboring countries, and we use that to promote the event. So if we've been asking the Philippine Association to promote it, Singapore Association to promote it, and they would then just blast it out to all the athletes, and that's when they hear about it as well.
Okay, we're coming up towards the end of our time here today, so maybe
That's fast.
we can have final thoughts on both Wen Jun and Andy. Maybe what do you maybe you can talk about the last what your next competition is.
So basically, my next competition will be in Saru, I would say. Yeah. So, but I will be joining the sprint distance. So because I will be on that distance at the moment lah. Yeah. And after that, we will have another event in Malacca, which is the August 15th.
End of August 25th.
End of August. So that one will be attracting event, I would say, because nearer. And then that place is quite enclosed, I would say. Everything is inside the compound. It's really nice. Yeah. After that, I will mainly focus on coaching, I would say, to build up the kids lah. To have a better I mean, like, to build up the quality of triathlon as well, Yeah.
Groom the next generation.
Yeah, groom the next generation from my experience.
So Andy, final thoughts?
For me, I would say as an event organizer, we really hope that everybody comes and support us. We really hope that the government and all stakeholders, even the private sectors, the private clubs, come and support the event and make the event better. That's the only way that we can progress forward. The ecosystem is very important. So for the government, I'd like to thank them also for supporting us so far. Private sectors, for those who have contributed in terms of kinds, thank you very much. Of course, our supporters, the loyal supporters, we will never be here if it's not for them. We've been around now for close to 10 years. And I mean, COVID was the past, right? Everybody suffered. It was a challenging time. But after that, we've been picking up again, all thanks to our supporters. So we really appreciate them supporting us. Now coming out from a non-event organizer, for the community, I really hope that triathlon in Malaysia and the region can really pick up. And the only way you can do it is through a good ecosystem, which we not have yet. We're trying to get there, and I believe we will get there. Just give it some time. So we hope that everybody can work hand in hand, from the government sector, the schools, private clubs, event organizers. All of us have to work together to achieve this.
Okay, on that note, Thank you so much for listening to Time Sports on the Beat. I am your host, Faizal Salim, and our guest, thank you so much, Wen
Thanks
Jun,
for having
Andy.
us, Faizal.
We hope you enjoyed our session. You can listen to the podcast on Audio Plus, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again, and I hope you join us next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Audio Plus.